How to make sheet pan chicken meatballs with charred broccoli. Let's get into it. For the sauce, we're going to add 2/3 of a cup of ketchup to a small saucepan. Add a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Two tablespoons of either rice cooking wine or water. I'm using water. 2 tablespoons of honey. 4 teaspoons of soy sauce. You can use 1.5 inch of peeled grated ginger, but we don't have that, so I'm going to use powdered stuff. Probably use about a teaspoon or 2. And lastly, a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Preferably fresh ground, but use what you have. Mix everything until thoroughly combined. Pour some reserve a 1/4 cup of mixture for later. Put your reserve sauce to the side until we're ready to use it. We're going to use that later to glaze our meatballs. Bring the rest of the sauce to a light simmer, which means just before boiling. You want to let it simmer away for about 5 minutes until it gets thick. Don't forget to stir. Probably don't also use a metal spoon, use like a plastic spoon or something. Like one of these. If it starts boiling or getting too bubbly, just turn the heat down a little bit. And when your sauce is nice and thick, take it off the heat and leave it to the side for a couple of minutes to cool down until we're ready to use it. Next, you want to grab yourself a big baking sheet, line it with tin foil, and spray it with some pan spray. Now, on one hand, you can use fresh broccoli, 2 heads of fresh broccoli if you prefer. Just make sure you remove from the stem from all the little broccoli heads and wash them. I'm going to make things easier for myself and just use a pound of the florets. They're already prepared for me. You want to pour your broccoli florets onto your baking sheet and drizzle about a tablespoon of unflavored oil like vegetable oil or canola oil, and just toss to coat everything. Add about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a few pinches of red pepper flakes to your broccoli and mix with your hands again. And lastly, for now, you want to start pushing your broccoli. Try to be as even as possible to the edges of your pan. Make sure there's like a big wide space in the middle like this, but a lot bigger. Drizzle 1 tablespoon of oil and just kind of smear it on right in the center. Right now your board should look something like this. Now for a minute, we're just going to put this aside till we're ready to use it. Grabbing a medium-sized bowl, you want to add about 1 pound of ground chicken, 1 egg, add about 2 teaspoons each onion powder and garlic powder. About 2 teaspoons of ginger, or again 1.5 pieces of fresh peeled grated ginger, if you prefer to have real instead of the grated powdered. Add about a teaspoon or 2 of each salt and pepper. And lastly, you want to add about a 1/3 cup of panko breadcrumbs. You can add more or less depending on how stiff or not as stiff you prefer them. We like our meatballs on the slightly firmer side, so I added a little bit extra. Mix well to combine. So, like I said, you can add more or less breadcrumbs as much as you'd like. I'm adding a little bit more because this isn't firm enough for what we like. Just be careful not to add too much because you don't want them so stiff and tough that they're going to taste really bad. Since we don't really want rocks, we just want firmness. Now once your chicken is all nice and well mixed, you want to grab your sheet pan with broccoli. And your chicken, you want to grab about your palm size, roll it into a ball, and place it onto your baking sheet. Continue with all balls. You should get about 12 total. So I actually got 13, but no big deal. I still arranged them so they would all have just a little bit of breathing room. Next, you want to grab your reserved sauce and brush it onto your meatballs. It's okay if you have extra sauce left over, we're going to use more of it later. So just brush them onto all of your meatballs until they're nice and coated. Now once you've got all your glaze on, again, you're just going to put this aside. We're going to use this again later. But for now, you want to bake this all off at about 450 degrees for about 12 to 18 minutes or until your chicken balls are no longer pink on the inside and are fully cooked. After 12 to 18 minutes, you're going to take them out of the oven, cut one in half, make sure it's fully cooked. Then you want to take the rest of your glaze sauce and you want to start coating all of your meatballs again. Make sure you put the meatball that you cut in half together again and then just coat that one as well. You want to get them all nice and coated. After that, you want to broil them for about 3 to 5 minutes until they're charred in spots. Once everything's nice and charred in spots on the chicken meatballs and the broccoli, you're going to let everything sit for a minute or two just to cool down for a second. Take your thick sauce that we made in the pan, stir it around a little bit to get a little looser, and feel free to drizzle it on any part of your chicken, broccoli, or rice mixture. Make it look all pretty, and enjoy.